Hello students, today we are going to deal dynamic consideration module 5 class 1. Okay, module 5 class 1. Till now we have discussed the static analysis. So in the static analysis, structural analysis for the bars, trusses, beams, and even the thermal analysis also we have considered. So today we are going to deal with the dynamic. So what do you mean by dynamic here is impact loads and vibration analysis. So when load is applied, sudden loads are applied, and at the same time interval, at what time interval the load is applied, and acceleration, mass and acceleration is also considered in the dynamic consideration. Okay, that we shall discuss today. So what is the introduction here is, so we have discussed the static analysis of structure. Static analysis holds when the loads are slowly applied, when loads are suddenly applied, or when the loads are of a variable nature, the mass and acceleration effects come into picture. So that's what I said. So the static loadings are slowly applied. When loads slowly applied, in the sense the loads are not impact loads, sudden loads are not applied on the static thing. So dynamic consideration, sudden or impact loads are applied, and mass and acceleration effects are also considered, and at the same time intervals are also very important. So at what time interval the load is applied and what kind of frequencies are obtaining from the system, that we need to analyze. Okay, so if a solid body such as engineering structure is deformed elastically and suddenly released, it tend to vibrate about its equilibrium position. So this is a thing what we know earlier. This periodic motion due to the restoring strain energy is called free vibration. Example is, if for rubber, if you stretch and at the mid portion, if you try to drag it, what happens? Try to oscillate. So this oscillation about its equilibrium position, so whatever it oscillates after we leave it, so the oscillation occurs, that is called as a free vibration. Example is our simple pendulum. If you drag and leave it, it try to oscillate, am I right? So that is what free vibration. So it oscillates on its own. So this, the number of cycles per unit time is the frequency. This is very important in dynamic analysis, the frequency point. So the number of cycles per unit time means at what cycles it is oscillating. If I take example of pendulum, if it is oscillating at what unit time, per unit time, if I calculate, so then I will get a frequency. So the maximum displacement from the equilibrium position is called amplitude. Example of the pendulum, if I pull the pendulum and leave it, at what maximum it reaches the angle between the pendulum, so that maximum angle of oscillation is called what? Amplitude. So that is what this indicates. The maximum displacement from the equilibrium position is the amplitude. So in the real world, a vibration subside with the time due to damping action. So in simplest vibration model, the damping effects are neglected. That undamped free vibration model of a structure gives significant information about its dynamic consideration. So in our analysis, so if you want to research or if you want to test a component with dynamic analysis, so the dampers, so we need to neglect the dampers. What is a damper? Dampers are nothing but a shock absorbers or vibration absorbers. Very best example is our spring or shock absorbers in our two-wheelers. So if without those dampers, so without shock absorbers, if you analyze the component or if you analyze the structure, you get the better results or you get the significant information about the dynamic behavior of the particular structure. Okay, so for our analysis we neglect the dampers. So means what? We are not using the dampers. Without dampers we use that. So what we call is the undamped free vibration of the model. So without damping, what the frequencies is taking place, then we can identify what are the frequencies exerted from that system when the particular load is applied. Okay, fine. So next is consistent mass matrix. So there are two mass matrices are there: consistent element mass matrix, lumped mass matrix. So these two things are there. So first we shall discuss what is consistence. Under consistence, what all the things are going to come, and in the lumped matrix, what all the things are going to come. Later I will just give the difference of these two. So what exactly the consistent, what exactly the lumped mass matrix, and which we are going, which in among these two which you are using, and what is the use of these two, that shall discuss in the end. Okay, so now for consistent mass matrix for the one dimensional bar element. So we now give the element mass matrix treating the material density rho to be constant over the element. So we have mass m is equal to rho integration of n transpose n dv, where n is a shape function, shape function. So the shape function. So if I consider a bar element, in the bar element I consider a small area or a small volume, dv is equal to a into dx, small elemental volume I have considered. Here it has a deflection u at node 1 q1, at node 2 q2 deformation I have. So here n1 is 1 minus zeta by 2, n2 is 1 plus zeta by 2. So here these shape functions are derived. This 1 minus zeta by 2, 1 plus zeta by 2 are derived. So here derived from the shape functions. Here I wrote directly, where this particular volume, whatever I considered, when I consider the shape function, it varies from minus 1 to plus 1. So why we need to consider the shape function? So if this bar element, if I consider the bar element, when I apply a load at this point or at this point at a node 2, what happens? The deflection will happen at a q1 and deflection will happen at a q2. So even in our problem calculations, we always bother about the node. At a node, what the deflection is happening means at q1 and q2. If I know the q1 value and q2 value, so then what is the deflection is happening in the mid of the bar element, we never bother. If we want to know what is this thing, we need to place a nodes again, 1 2 3 4 nodes, means at this particular point what is the deflection is happening, with at this particular point what is deflection is happening. If I want to know, I need to place a node so that I can divide the elements and then I can solve for the nodal deformation. But if I start dividing this component into n number of parts and n number of nodes, what happens? My calculation becomes maximum, my calculation becomes complicated. Means if nodes are increased, the matrix size is going to increased, so the calculation of the matrices becomes complicated. So to avoid that, means what? Shape functions are used. Means what? At any point in this bar, from node 1 to node 2, at any point in between, at any point I can calculate the value of deflection using what? Shape function. So that is the importance of the shape function. Okay, so okay, fine. So this n1 and n2 are derived in the shape function interpolation models. Okay, so directly now I wrote n1 is equal to 1 minus zeta by 2, n2 is equal to 1 plus zeta by 2. Okay, so here dx is equal to le by 2 d zeta. So here dx is a small distance, dx is equal to, so L by 2 d zeta. So one dimensional bar element, for the bar element is shown in figure. So now consistent matrix for the bar element I am deriving here. So first is the bar element. I know q is equal to q1 q2. So this is a global load vector. Q is equal to q1 q2 global load vector. So and n is a shape function is equal to n1 n2. I'll call it as equation 2. So next, I know n1 is equal to 1 minus zeta by 2, n2 is equal to 1 plus zeta by 2. I know the mass matrix M is equal to rho n transpose n a dx. So dv I split it into a dx. So the volume is divided into area into dx. So here, so when I put the dx value in terms of zeta, because n1 and n2 are in terms of zeta, so the dx is replaced with zeta. So dx is what? Le by 2. So dx is Le by 2 zeta. So when dx is replaced with zeta, Le by 2 zeta. So a LE by 2 I took common and zeta d zeta comes. But in shape function the zeta will vary where from -1 to +1. So the integration is replaced with the limits -1 to +1. So on carrying out the integration of the each term in n transpose and n. So this n transpose, what is n? N1 and n2. So here n transpose is 1 minus zeta by 2 and 1 plus zeta by 2, and this is becomes vertical matrix, this is horizontal matrix. So because of the transpose it is vertical, this remains horizontal. 1 minus zeta by 2, 1 plus zeta by 2 into zeta. Now I am going to multiply these two. 1 plus zeta by 2 into 1 plus zeta by 2, 1 plus zeta by 2 into 1 plus zeta by 2. So if I multiply, I will get this thing. So 1 minus zeta by 2, 1 minus zeta by 2 whole square I got. This I got 1 plus zeta, 1 minus zeta by 2 into 1 plus zeta by 2. This I got 1 plus zeta by 2 minus 1 minus zeta by 2. This I got 1 plus zeta by 2 into 1 plus zeta by 2 whole square. So this is what I got here. So when I make 1 plus zeta by 2, 1 plus zeta by 2 becomes whole square. So these values I got here. So this is a matrix I got after multiplication. So this I will just simplify here. 1 minus zeta square is what? 1a minus b whole square. 1 plus zeta minus, so this is whole square I have. 2 becomes 4. 1 by 4 I will take common. 1 plus zeta square minus 2 zeta. This is a minus b whole square formula. Here this as it is, this 2 as it is, it remains. Here also 1 plus zeta square is what? Or a plus b whole square formula. So I got this thing. So later I am going to simplify here. Now I start integrating. So now I integrate here. So integration of 1 is zeta. Now I integrate with respect to zeta here. So 1 is zeta. Zeta square is what? Zeta cube by 3. 1 2 minus zeta square by 2. This is 1 is zeta minus zeta square. It is becomes zeta cube by 3. Here also same thing. 1 becomes zeta minus zeta square becomes zeta cube by 3. 1 is becomes zeta. Zeta square becomes zeta cube by 3. And 2 zeta. Zeta becomes zeta square by 2. So this is by 2, zeta square by 2, but here already I have a 2 by 2 and this 2 both cancels, remains what? A zeta square. As if here if I cancel these two things I left with what? Zeta square. The same thing here, he wrote directly here zeta square. After this now I am going to apply the limits here, -1 to +1. So how to apply the limits here is, I need to consider the total this thing, zeta plus zeta cube by 3 minus 2 zeta square by 2 with the +1 and then -1. So here for the first one, I'll take +1 value, this is -1 value. Means what? Instead of zeta here, so here wherever I have a zeta I will put plus zeta. So first I will apply plus here, 1 plus 1 cube by 3 minus 2 1 square by 2. So it becomes 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 by 3 minus 2. So after minus of, again wherever I have a zeta I will put -1. So -1 for the first term, for this term I am doing, plus 1 cube by 3 minus 2 1 minus 1 cube by 3. So if I put these values and if I substitute these values I will get this equation. Hope you have understood here. When I apply a limit I need to apply the limits minus +1 first, minus of 1. So this things this, so it varies from +1 to -1, okay, or -1 to +1. So +1 to -1 if it is varied. So here I am going to substitute the values. First I will apply +1, then I will apply -1. Here also same thing. First I will apply +1, then I will apply -1. So here it varies from +1 to -1. So here my equation comes here. This equation comes here. Fine. By doing that, by applying the limits +1 to -1, I got this equations. Okay. So fine. So next simplification. If I add here 1 goes cancels, and 2 plus, and if I take a LCM of 3, so I got this thing, 3 plus 1 plus 3 plus 1. Here also 3 minus 1 plus 3 minus 1. So here these two comes the same here, 3 minus 1 plus 3 minus 1. So here diagonal things comes the same here, and this value and this value is same. So finally I got 8 by 8 minus 4 by 8, 4 by 8 and 8 by 8. Okay, so here what I have done, this 3 I took outside and this 8 I took inside. So here don't confuse. So when I add these things I got 8, when I add this thing I got 4. So here it is common in 3 in all the cases. I took 3 common, and this 8 value I took inside in all, so that I can cancel easily. So finally what I got here is same row A L by 3, 1 by 2, 1 by 2, 1 by 2, because 1 by 8 by 8 1, 4 by 8 is 1 by 2. So now I will take again 2 common. So when I took 2 common, it becomes 6. Row A LE by 2, LE by 6. This becomes 2 because I don't have anything. 2 1 1 2. So this is a mass matrix for the consistent mass matrix for the bar element. So now we shall derive the consistent mass matrix for the truss element. So as you know, the truss element, each node has a 2 degrees of freedom, q1 q2 q3 and q4. So here what happens, so we know the q is equal to what? So the global displacement vector is q1 q2 q3 q4. The same way for the shape function, even the shape function, for each node I have a 2 shape functions. So I have total this n1 0, n2 0, 0 n1 0 n2. Okay, so where n1 same thing, the shape function will not vary, 1 minus zeta by 2, 2 is equal, n2 is equal to 1 plus zeta by 2. So mass matrix remains same here, rho integration n transpose n dv. When I replace dv with dx, a dx I got. When I replace dx with d zeta, I got L by 2. Okay, so now if I substitute these values in the mass matrices, so I got this vertical matrix and horizontal matrix because of the transpose. When I multiply these two, so n1 into n1, n1 square, n1 into 0 0, n1 into n2, n1 into n1 into 0, it is 0. Next 0 into n1 0, 0 into 0. Okay, you multiply this thing, row into column, n1 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 square, 0 into 0, this is 0, okay, you multiply this thing, one second. Okay, you do the matrix multiplication, regular matrix multiplication, you know, so you will get this matrix, and then where n1 n2, so in this multiplication I got okay, let me do this matrix multiplication. n1 into n1 is 0, 0 into 0 is 0, one second. Okay, you do this regular matrix multiplication, so you will get this thing. So here I have n1 square, n1 n2 and n2 square. Now before integration I am going to substitute the values of n1 n2 after multiplication and integration. After applying limits, what is going to happen, because if I do here itself integration and if I apply limits, it becomes a mess here. So big matrix I am going to get. So n1 and n2, these two things I have multiplied and I integrated. After integration, if I apply the limit, I got the value 1 by 2. For n1 square and n2 square, after integration and applying limits, I got n1 square as 2 by 3, n2 square also 2 by 3. So n1 and n2 I got 1 by 3. So n1 square is 2 by 3, n2 square is 2 by 3. If I substitute the values here, 2 by 3, 1 by 3, 2 by 3, 1 by 3, I got this matrix. Among this, if I take a 3 common here, again row A, L, E by 6, 2, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 2, 0, 1, 1, 0, 2, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 2. So this is a mass matrix for the truss element. Okay, so next axis symmetry triangular element. So axis symmetry triangular element, we have the deflection at each node. I have 2 degrees of freedom again here. So directly I wrote the mass matrices. So where R is equal to here, where dV is converted into dA. So here n1 R1, n2 R2 and n3 R3. I got the R term here. R term, because in the axis symmetries I have a radius, okay, where it is going to get. So in our derivation I have derived only the bar and trusses, because these two are the important thing what we have solved in the problems. So asymmetric, directly I wrote the formula here, directly the mass matrix I am going to get here. Okay, fine. Next, even the quadrilateral element also, directly I wrote the mass matrices. So here this what is the shape function? The shape function for different elements, it is going to change, but n1 n2 remains same there. Okay, and n3 and n4 you will get when the nodes are more in the different elements. So here the mass matrix for the quadratic element is given here. So this is a big derivation you have. So directly I wrote the mass matrix and left it. So next, coming to the beam element. So for the beam element we got here. So we know that for the beam element we have a transverse deflection and rotational force here. So we know V is equal to H into Q, where H is the Hermite shape function, where H is H1, H2 and H3, H4. So H1, H2, H3, H4, these values we have derived using Hermite shape functions. Fine. So here I know mass matrix is H transpose H rho A LE by 2 d zeta. So this is a mass matrix. Now here also H transpose and H. I know the H values here, H1, H2, H3, H4. This values if I substitute and if I integrate, and this is also big derivation I have. So finally I got the mass matrix for the beam element. Okay, and this is a symmetric value. This is a mirror image of this thing. Okay, next, lumped mass matrix. So lumped mass matrix. So consistent mass matrices have been presented. Practicing engineers also use lumped mass technique, where the total element mass in each direction is distributed equally to the nodes of the element, and the masses are associated with translational degrees of freedom only. So for the bar element, the lumped mass approach gives a mass matrix of. So this is a mass matrix of the lumped mass matrix. So what is a consistent mass matrix, that I will discuss in next thing. So this is a lumped mass matrix. So for the consistent mass matrix I have the even other values also. 1 2 1 2 1 I have here. I have only the diagonal. So in the lumped matrix, the matrix having only the values at the diagonal. So this is for the bar element. For the truss element and for the beam element, here for the truss element, the lumped mass matrix is, can you see here, only at the diagonal I have the lumped mass matrix. I have the values only at the diagonal. So remaining things I have no values, I'll put it 0. So for the beam element also, so the one diagonal, only at the diagonal thing I have the value 1 and 1, and remaining things are 0. So now I will compare what is the consistent mass matrix and lumped mass matrix. So in the consistent mass matrix yields more accurate results for flexural elements such as beams. The lumped mass technique is easier to handle since only diagonal elements are involved. So the natural frequencies obtained from lumped mass technique are lower than the exact values. So in our presentation we discussed techniques. Okay, this I will discuss. So here in the consistent mass matrix, so here two types of mass matrix are considered. One is a consistent mass matrix, one is a lumped mass matrix. Either of the one we are going to consider. But consistent mass matrix, if you consider, we get a more accurate results compared to the lumped mass matrix. But what happens if I use a lumped mass matrix? It is easy for our calculation because only diagonal values are known, other values are zero. So for the calculation purpose, lumped matrix mass matrix is easier. But what happens when I consider a complicated structures? When you have a complicated structure, when you consider a consistent mass matrix, so you get a more values and the matrix is big, very big, and the calculation becomes too complicated, and solving and getting the solution becomes complicated. When I consider the lumped mass matrix, because only the diagonal elements are known, only diagonal elements are having the values and others are zero, so we get a less values in the matrix. Even the complicated matrix also we get the less matrix in the lumped matrix, so it is easy for our calculation. So most of the engineering problems, they use a lumped matrix rather than consistent matrix. But if you use lumped matrix, you won't get an accurate result, but when you go for consistent mass matrix, it gives a more accurate results. Okay, next. So in our presentation, we discussed the techniques for determining the eigenvalues and eigenvectors with consistent mass formulation. So here what are these eigenvalues and eigenvectors? I spoke about the frequencies. So for the dynamic analysis, we need to find the frequency of the particular component. So if without knowing that frequency, it is very difficult to analyze the dynamic thing. So eigenvalues and eigenvectors in the mathematics is a very important, even for the earthquakes. So when you have earthquakes, to find what are the earthquake, they say before the earthquake comes, they say that they predict, so this is the number of frequencies the earthquake is going to happen. So how do they get that value? By using the eigenvalues and eigenvectors. So important that it will find from the eigenvalues and eigenvector, we can find the frequencies. Based on those frequencies, they are going to analyze for any kind of a thing. Example I have given for the earthquake. So what are eigenvalues and eigenvectors? So what it is done in our structural thing. So eigenvalue problems occurs naturally in the vibration analysis of mechanical structures with many degrees of freedom. So the eigenvalues are the natural frequencies of the vibration, and the eigenvectors are the shapes of this vibrational mode. So here eigenvalues are the natural frequencies. So we know the natural frequency of the particular system. I said you what is the natural frequency. So natural frequency of a member. So we need to identify. Already I discussed in the DOM, dynamics of machines. You have two topics called damping vibration and free damper vibration and forced damper vibration. In that you have known what is natural frequency. So for every component we have a natural frequency. When this natural frequency is equal to the frequency of the vibration, when these both are equal, then we call it as a resonance. That is the failure thing. So when these two are equal, means what? Maximum amplitude of the system and natural frequency of the system both are equal, it is called as a resonance. Then the system is going to fail. So here we need to find the frequencies. So with this, natural frequencies are always called as eigenvalues. So eigenvectors are the shapes of vibration modes, means at what shape of vibration is happening, that gives the eigenvectors, and natural frequencies gives the eigenvalues. So based on this eigenvalue and eigenvectors, we are going to find the frequency of particular thing. So in the eigenvalues and eigenvectors, we are going to use a angular velocity omega. So omega is equal to 2 pi f, where we get the frequency. So in our problem we are going to use the angular velocity. So for vibration we know that mx double dot plus kx is equal to 0. So here m is the mass matrix, k is the stiffness, x double dot is the acceleration, and x is the deflection. In this thing I am going to introduce the omega square, angular velocity. So by this what we are going to get, so we are going to find the angular velocity using eigen values and eigen vectors. So finally we know omega is equal to 2 pi f, so we can find the even the frequency. Once you know what is the frequency of the particular component, we can easily predict what kind of damper can be used to reduce the vibration or to reduce the dynamic thing. So these are the considerations what we have to do. Okay, fine Baba. So next class we shall continue with the problem. Okay, so thank you.